I hope people understand that the go button has been pressed. The go button is simply this. We've seen tests of communications being shut down throughout the country. EBT cards waiting some places 9 days. We've seen the disruption of the Baltic Dry Index. We've seen reports coming from all over the country of a lack of product, or maybe drugstore shelves with only 1 or 2 deep. Meanwhile, we get the stories from the truckers, and a lot of truckers listen to you, listen to me. They're dropping vast amounts of stuff out in the underground. I know people, obviously, that are anti-gun. And by the way, I want to recommend a book to all your listeners. I had Sig Swanstrom on, God, Guns, and Guts, the Firearm Defense, the Bible View. Sid's a real guy. He knows what it's like to live in Honduras or Guatemala and have to have armed guards in the churches. And we talked about Charles Van Wyck, who's a guy that saved 1,000 people from getting slaughtered in South Africa with 2 shots with a .38 snub nose. And when the one of the terrorists was captured, they said they had enough guns and grenades to kill every single one. Any pastors listening to us tonight, you need to have elders with cojones, okay? I would pick the guys that are military or, police officers to always be caring. If you want to really do it right, make sure that your rear entrances are secured and that anybody that comes in, if they're carrying concealed weapons, let them carry the concealed weapons. I'm talking about parishioners. But, you need to take this thing seriously. Because, again, Dave, I put up on my alerts today that you're going to love this one. In Henderson, Nevada, a security guy working in one of the casinos, his friend called and told him that they basically arrested 5 Middle Easterners, 3 on the terrorist watch list, with blueprints of bridges in the area and a Quran, and basically they were ordered to turn them loose. Please go to my website, ladies and gentlemen, stevequayle.com. The most important stuff I post in real time in my world is when I'm awake, is on the Q alerts, top right-hand side. And it's astonishing, Dave. You understand that that's rhetorical. Of course you do. That no matter what happens, no matter what's intercepted, there is an order comes down from the higher-ups to release these individuals. I guarantee you they're not going to take that attitude towards white guys, And I'm not making this about race, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm making it about is the spirit behind this. For when Jesus said, nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, that word nation in Greek is ethnos, from which we get the word ethnicity. So we're talking race wars. I hate it. I tell my black brethren who love Jesus, don't get involved in it. Stay away from the people that want to instigate and initiate it. Same thing with my Latino brothers, and I owe my life to Latinos. So there's no, white guilt or white anything in me. There's a white horse, and the rider is Jesus Christ. I'm talking about who comes back to rule over the planet. But the thing, and I'm not talking about any, Salt Lake City doctrine. I'm talking about Jesus Christ, the Son of God. We're talking about events transpiring in our very days. If people cannot have their children safe in the streets of Idaho, which is a state that you wouldn't think would be having these issues, and yet the bad people, the ones talking about it, being threatened with prison or arrest, does anybody get the absolute absurdity of this? So I think people had better, and I'm sorry if this is offensive, good. Grow a set, get real, and prepare. Because when I say prepare, this is not like you're preparing for what I call a 72-hour suicide kit, okay? A 72-hour suicide kit is just prolonging the inevitable. You need to have health food supplements, vitamin C. Do you know how much help half a pound of vitamin C powder, and not made in China will be worth? Or just multivitamins that are the best out there? Like, good night, Mike Adams. Absolute natural health news. Fantastic product. By the way, if no one's ever said this, I want to acknowledge something. I think Mike Adams is one of the most intelligent, one of the most gifted gifted writers in the nutritional and real world that there is. I delight in reading his articles. He is absolutely gifted, and you can learn a lot from him because he knows what he's talking about. And I'll share this too, Dave. And this is really critical. You know, I've had a sponsor for years, Enter Health Foods, okay? I can tell you this, that those guys have been amazing. When I was helping veterans, Steve St. Clair, man, he was at the pump. He was on the phone immediately. The testimonials of people, Enter Health supplement, and I'm talking about a nutritional supplement, and the Coco Mojo. He was the first guy to combine, you know, coconut and chocolate, organic, and having, you know, dealing with caprylic and lauric acid. This is Katie's, you know, world. But here's what I'm saying: you can buy smart too. Nutrition doesn't come in how much pounds you put down into your stomach. It comes in the form of genuine nutrition that can feed your cells on a cellular level. So Enter Health, and I'm saying this, people have got to understand that Enter Health and Inner Health will give you brain health, and everything that's going down right now is to cause cognitive dissonance. We're at it, Dave. This is a week that will go down in history as famous, and I'm with you. The closer we get to the Republican convention, you're going to see the biggest batch of cowards, traitors, bullies, turncoats. There's no words I can describe that we can use on the air right now, of people that are going to show their true colors. Because as Romy just sent me, my friend Romy, intercessor friend, just sent me saying, God is separating the sheep from the goats. That's the same word that Pastor Langford said, the wheat and the tares. But I'm telling you what, you're going to see a harvest of tares, T-A-R-E-S, and I'm praying that God intervenes to stop the terrors, T-E-R-R-O-S, that are being planned. Stay alert, and again, I'll say this, unless you know you're supposed to be there, take very active measures for situational awareness. Always have a back door. Keep your eyes on the back door. Learn to do what the Secret Service does. You listen to the speaker, but you scan the audience. Get a position in the building where you can see everything. If you go to bathrooms, don't go alone. This is one time where, you know, it's becoming wiser even to go to restrooms and for legitimate reasons, you know, or have somebody stand out and watch, because there's nothing safe anymore. And that's what terrorism feasts on. The ability to keep their enemy, which is us, destabilized in all ways. So, you know, Dave, if you got any questions, I don't want to just make this a dump, you know, all this data. But look, we're in it. This is a big deal. This is a huge deal because it's the ignition that has been, the ignition has been turned on. Or let's put it this way, the plunger in the dynamite igniter has been pressed down, and now everybody goes, see, the explosion wasn't really bad. Wait until it takes full form. Wait until it really begins to happen. I think that, Randy, thank you for sending me that about your bank account. When you get guys like that talking about their bank accounts being hacked and all their savings and checkings being depleted, what is this brother to do except live off what he may have out of the bank?
Well, I got one for you along those lines too, Steve. On one of our accounts, our business account, we had a $642 charge. My wife came to me and said, "Did you spend $642?" And I looked at her and I said, "No, I'd be in trouble with that, clearing it with our finance minister or my wife." And she said, "Well, it's here." And she showed me. We called the bank. They don't have any record of it. They're trying to resolve the discrepancy right now. I kid you not. The bank could not pin this down in a 2-day period. We're going to go in tomorrow and we're going to force the issue. But what you're telling me is not surprising. The other thing I wanted to bring up to you was tell a brief story here and then lead into the question, because I want to know what I'm going to be up against. And let me tell you that back in, was it 94, 95, I was, a Maricopa County first responder. And I did it because, you know, your family gets the drugs first, you'll know what's going on, blah, 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 blah. So I volunteered from my campus, and then FEMA took us over and we did joint stuff. We had joint meetings, and I became friends with a guy in FEMA who lived not very far from me, and I got to know his entire family very well. Well, 4 years ago, they came to me, actually came to my place of work. They're waiting for me in my office. I walked in, and they said, yeah, we're leaving in 2 months. And they described basically a sheltered community where they'd be out of harm's way. And what they told me, and this guy's specialty in FEMA was counter-bioterrorism. He said that we have stuff that can do things that no one else in the world knows what we have or what we can do. And he goes, and that means the Russians and the Chinese. And he said, if this country rises up, it's going to be unleashed on the American people. Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, sure, and the reason, the hats I've worn over the years and the books I've written and researched, one of them was Breed No Evil. You can design a bioweapon for any identifiable blood trait or genetic trait, okay? What I've worried about, and I think this is what he was implementing, or not implementing, but he was indicating or kind of signaling you, is that the chemtrail spraying, geoengineeringwatch.org, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, that I've always been concerned that was a primary of a binary weapon. In other words, Dave, we all have within ourselves now, after all these decades of spraying, we have different antigens, and a lot of us have pathogens. And what happens if they introduce what I call the death spray? We've all got Part A, but they introduce Part B. What happens if they're introducing a genetically altered form of rabies that has been already typed in some of the zombie protocol that the medical field has gotten? What he's saying in no uncertain terms is everybody had better realize this, that Psalm 91 is their only protection.